is to finish all three, and then we have a handout, which should be fairly easy. All right, so we started with the reflexive property. What is the reflexive property? Awesome. And let me give you all your point strips so I can give you a point. All right, what is the symmetric property? Caroline. The same but opposite. If you answer me, get a point. If you answer, we can see over. Make sure you write your name, the date, your tower, and score right now. Name, date, tower. And then if you answered, give a point. What is the transitive property? Oh, we didn't finish it, but it means that everything is equal and then it moves it around, right? And it's not what Jared thought yesterday. No judgment. All God's children. But that is funny. All right, here we go. So what it means is if A equals B and B equals C, what do you think is true? Grant? Look at you go. Take a point. Then A equals C. It's not magic. It's just taking out the middleman. What if I said A equals B, B equals C, and C equals D? What could A be equal to? It could be equal to C. Could it also be equal to something else? D. And what could B be equal to? If A equals B, B equals C, and C equals D, B could be equal to D. So you literally just take out the middle part. Ta-da! Transitive property. I'm sorry, it's really not that exciting, but hopefully the colored paper makes you happy. It looks like what, huh?
It looks like it would make more sense in
Are you saying it doesn't make sense, or that it does make sense?
Yes.
No. Okay. All right. I'm just going to be Elsa and let it go. Are we ready? Substitution property. What do you think that means? What does the word substitution mean? Well, what is that? Y'all, you can't use the same word. Like, what does that mean? A replace of something, right? So if there's a substitute for me, there's someone else here, right? And supposedly he or she should be able to do my job, but we know how well that works. Reeling it back in. Just kidding. All substitutes are great. All right. Did you have a great time? It was a long line. It went fairly fast, though. Y'all were only gone for like 10 minutes. All right, open this. All right, so substitution means to replace. Isn't it exciting? And you plug in for a variable. So if I said that n is equal to 11, and we had 4n, what would we do with that n? Ta-da! If I said that x equals 5, what would we plug in if it said 4x plus 2? Look at you go, Caroline. Take a point, baby. Ta-da! Substitution property. Do you have gum in your mouth? Can you spit it out, please? Thank you. Love you so much. All right. Any questions on symmetric, reflexive, symmetric, transitive substitution? Do we have any questions? Can we move on to the properties of addition? So these are super easy. The properties of addition and multiplication kind of work together. So we have the associative property, the identity, commutative, distributive, and we're also going to have the inverse, but I forgot to make the flappies of those, so we'll just write those down. Now, what does the word associative make you think of?
Associate.
Partners, associates. Let's not just use the same word. What does associates mean?
Somebody you work with.
Someone you work with, yes. So your group is someone that you associate with in this classroom, right?
Not really.
Well, that's because you talk to your neighbor and not your group.
No, I barely see any of them. I don't have a resume. I said in the hallway. I said in the hallway.
Well, let's okay. You're jabbing scissors.
I said in the hallway.
Take a deep breath. There we go. There we go. All right, let's calm down and talk about the associative property of addition. So what it means is the way you group.
Teachers, at this time, can I please have freshmen with last names E through P make their way to the main lobby for pictures? Freshmen E through P. Thank you.
Have a good time. Hey, you know we don't say that. That's 5 push-ups. You have to do 5 push-ups when you say it.
Really?
Really?
Yes, really.
Yeah. I think P is in Paul.
Sean, what is that?
It's his beautiful push-up. That's what I'm talking about. High five. Hey, no judgment. All God's children.
Hey.
He's working at his chest this morning, not his triceps. Okay, so what associative property means is that the way you group numbers doesn't change the answer. Now, we know that's not true whenever we have other operations in there, right? When we moved it around with addition and subtraction and stuff, but with addition, with multiplication and subtraction, I'm sorry, guys. So if I said that, and you guys have seen these before, right? Okay, thank God. It's so boring. If I said A plus B plus C, and I put my parentheses around the A and the B, that would be the same thing as A plus B plus C. Dun, 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 dun. So, like if I told you to switch chairs at your group, you're still in the same group, you're just in a different position. That's all it means. Do I need to do another example, or are we fine? Okay, you ready for identity property? What does the word identity make you think of? Like your ID, like who you are? So,
Internet safety.
internet. All right, so identity means that it stays the same. So with addition, if I want a number to stay the same, what do I have to add to it to make it stay the same? What number? If I have 2, what do I have to add to 2 to make it stay the same? 0. Take a point. Look at us go. So it's any number plus 0. You keep going to the next one. Yeah. So you would be at your second point, right? So you would circle the 2. So I could say A plus 0 would equal
A.
A. And if I said Z plus 0 would equal
Z.
Z. Dun, dun, dun. Now, the commutative property is kind of like the associative, but the commutative is actually how you move it. So, changing our chairs is commutative, not associative. Super sorry. Mutter, mutter, mutter. What?
Yeah, zero to our group.
We had 0 to our group. It would be the what property? The identity property. Okay, so instead of saying if you change your chairs for associative, if I make you work in different pairs, you're still the same group though, right? You're just working with a different person. So commutative is if you change your position, if you change your seat. Sorry that I got them backwards, I got excited. So the commutative property says that the order in which you add numbers okay, Blair. I forgot how to spell halfway through that. Does not change the sum. And we know that sum means when we add two things. I'm going to start taking off a point every time. Alright, so if I say 6 plus 7 plus 8, is that the same thing as 8 plus 7 plus 6? It is. If I say A plus B plus C, is that the same thing as B plus C plus A? It is. Ta-da! And I think that the distributive property of addition is stupid.
Okay, wait, so question.
Yeah.
So, like, is it that the number in the middle always stays the same?
This one? No. You're just moving them around. That would be, bless you, that would be the one we did yesterday, symmetric. But did you notice that because of these 8s? That one made you think of it? No, so that's the symmetric property, and that's a great thing to connect. But it's that you can just move them around anywhere. You're still going to get the same thing. All right, the distributive property of addition. Do we know how to distribute, y'all? You don't remember it? That's okay. So the distributive property is when you have a number outside the parentheses, and you share it inside parentheses. So if I had 2 times 6 plus 7, I could multiply this 2 times the 6 and the 7 and get the same thing as if I add them together and then multiply. But I think that's silly because that's counterintuitive to the order of operations. So just know you can do that. And it says sharing a number outside parentheses. And I'm going to put a note that we would multiply. I don't often use that because, again, it's counterintuitive to order of operations, which we just harped on, where we do what's in parentheses first and then we multiply. So I don't really care for this one, but now you know what it is. Are we ready for multiplication? It's the exact same thing. I know, these are boring. I'm sorry, you'll survive. So the associative property of multiplication is still the same thing. The way you group numbers doesn't change the answer. So associative is grouping, commutative is moving. Associative is parentheses, commutative is moving around on the paper. So if I said A times B times C, I could also write it as A times B times C. That's all it means. Magic. Once we get through the first chapter, we do a lot of more exciting things, so don't worry. It'll get better. This is just, the first chapter is always a repeat of what you know, right? Yes. But that's what math is. It's a building block, and it builds on your previous knowledge so that you can do future things. I'm sorry. You'll survive. Power to the people. Push through. All right, so what would the identity property of multiplication be? The identity property of addition is adding 0, but what would the identity property of multiplication be? Multiplying by 1. Because if you multiply by 0, what do you get? 0, yeah. So, and that's okay that you said that because that's a common mistake that people make. So it's any number times 1. So if I said A, what would I multiply by A to get A? 1. All right, if it was 6, what would I multiply by 6 to get 1? I mean, 6 by potatoes. And if I said negative 73, I would multiply it by 1 to get negative 73. Are we ready? Okay, commutative property. Is commutative the one that moves around, or is it the one with parentheses? The one that moves around. All right. Take a point if you said that. These other tables, I don't know what they're going to do about their points today. All right, so the order in which you multiply numbers does not change the product. Did you write this down? Okay. Hello, friend. Welcome back. You missed super exciting things. Yes. It's the highlight of the year right here. So if I said negative 4 times 6 times 3, could I also write it as 6 times 3 times negative 4? I could, and we would get the same answer because it just commutes around. You commute back and forth to work or to school. And if you go a different way, you're still getting to the same place. All right, distributive property of multiplication is the same thing. It's crazy. I told you that they were adding in multiplication on the same thing. So it's still sharing a number outside parentheses. All it's saying is that we could say 3 times 6 times 5. And you could distribute that to both of those and then multiply them together or multiply. But again, it's counterintuitive to order of operations, so use order of operations. Let's make a note that says, this is a silly rule. we will use order of operations. And it is, because why would you distribute and not multiply? You distribute when there's a variable. We're not going to distribute if there's not a variable. And the zero property of multiplication. What do you think the zero property of multiplication is? Any number times 0, 0. Take a point. Any number times 0, oh, Blair, is 0. So 7 times 0 is 456 times 0 is a rainbow times 0 is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. Aren't we excited? Are you ready for your worksheet?
Not really.
Well, get ready.